A lot of people are going to disagree with this, but ranking Star Wars TV shows from worst to best. In last place for me is the Book of Boba Fett because this show commits two sins that are absolutely unforgivable for any TV show. The first one of those being is that the show is simply just boring and painful to sit through. I was constantly just waiting for something interesting to happen and it never did. The second is that it's really a character assassination of Boba Fett in my eyes. You can say that, oh, this is how he's changed after he came out of the Sarlacc pit and now he wants to be like the Book of Boba friend, just being the nice guy and befriending all these mob bosses and bringing peace to the world. I'm sorry, that's not what me or anybody liked the character of Boba Fett for originally. He literally had almost no screen time, but people liked him because he seemed just like a cool badass bounty hunter in the background. Why would we not just explore more of that element of the character of him just going around cleaning up shop, taking out people in insane action sequences? If you want to make him more of like a real character, you could make him like maybe start dealing with the consequences of just wiping out all these different bounties. Maybe he starts regretting some of the ones he's doing, or he gets a really challenging bounty. But this show was just completely off the mark in my opinion, and it really just should have been a movie with a completely different tone. Now I do think the Mandalorian episodes are good, but I cannot give this show credit for having the only good episodes pretty much being what should have been episodes of the Mandalorian that they just pasted into this show to get anybody to watch it. At number 11 I have The Acolyte, because at least this show is just bad on its own accord. It's not ruining any beloved characters besides adding in like Ki-Adi-Mundi, which made absolutely no sense. This show I was so excited for though, so it's kind of heartbreaking that it's so low on the list. I was like, oh, we're going to be dealing with like ancient Sith, maybe this kind of murder mystery aspect. I was hyped and I honestly thought it was going to be genuinely something great, dealing with kind of a new era of Star Wars. But simply put, that's not what we got at all. The show honestly just felt kind of lame and dumb in the writing. It felt like they could not make an interesting mystery for their life. All the big reveals, like who this major Sith was pretty obvious very early on. Like a Disney Channel original movie more so than anything else. There's a few good characters, like Kamir I think is good even though the reveal was obvious, and I did like Soul. Otherwise this was just a huge waste of potential. At number 10 is a major jump up in quality. Still a show I'm not that high on, but it's at least enjoyable and not a complete train wreck like the other ones. I have The Bad Batch. I think this show is just perfectly mediocre. There's some things that drive me absolutely crazy, mostly Omega. I'm sorry, no offense to the voice actor, but the voice drives me crazy. The character itself pretty much just exists to get the Bad Batch into trouble, make them lose missions, and it felt so repetitive. Like that was how every episode was going. Like the Bad Batch would do something good, oh no, we have to go back for Omega, and then everything's just ruined. It was a fine show. The final season got, again, kind of repetitive with Omega being locked away in the prison for like 5 straight episodes. It just felt very dull towards the end. I mean, there's some good moments between each member of the Bad Batch, and I do like their dynamic, but I really like them better as supporting characters in the Clone Wars, showing up for like 1 or 2 episodes at a time rather than having their own series. It just never really clicked for me fully. Number 9 is the Skeleton Crew. I really don't have any issues with this. It just doesn't do anything amazing either, which is fine. It's just a nice small scale story taking place with its own set of characters. We're not trying to connect to any other universes, which I really appreciate. We're just sticking with this new group of characters, going for a very obvious kind of like Goonies coming of age story. Some really solid episodes, and again, just some episodes that are perfectly fine. Nothing remarkable, nothing really bad. I do think Jude Law as kind of the schemer is a really fun character. My homie Neil, the blue elephant looking guy, was an absolute real one. I love that character. Number 8 is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is this series perfect? No. There's lots of really just dull moments and weird things, and you definitely can tell this was originally supposed to be a movie, which, yeah, this and the Book of Boba Fett were going to be movies, and then after Solo flopped, they're like, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to make them TV shows. I think this suffered a little bit from that, but still there are some really high highs in this, and I feel like the show overall is very hated. Which I'm going to be honest, I straight up just don't understand the hatred that this show was receiving. I think it's a great exploration into Obi-Wan Kenobi's character. Ewan McGregor is incredible as a character, and the stuff between him and Anakin/Vader is legitimately incredible in this. Is Reva like the greatest villain as one of the Inquisitors? No, but I don't think she ruined the show like people were saying. At number 7, I have the Tales of the Empire. Number 6 is Tales of the Jedi. I'm wrapping these two in together because it's basically the same show, just focusing on 4 different characters. I think they're all very solid stories. Some of them are kind of squandered potential, but what really has this above things like Obi-Wan Kenobi for me is the Dooku story. That is easily the best one of these 4 that we've received so far. Even the episodes that I think weren't as amazing as that, like I said, they're all very solid, and I hope they continue with this format, maybe give us a second season of Tales of the Jedi or Empire. I'd love to just explore more. I love revisiting this Clone Wars art style too. Number 5 is Ahsoka. I'm sorry, I thought this show was really solid overall. Again, just like most things in Star Wars, it's not perfect, but this was way better than it was bad. Yeah, it really should have probably been an animated Rebel Season 5, but I did like this version of it. I think all the casting was incredible, and Rosario Dawson is legitimately a great Ahsoka herself. We got a little bit more of Thrawn, but he was really great in this series. A lot of the fight choreography is also better than these other Star Wars shows and like the sequels, which is a little detail, but it really matters to me. I thought Shin Hati and Baylan Skoll were really great antagonists and really interesting on their own. Rest in peace to Ray Stevenson. I'm so bummed that he passed away. He was perfect as his character. Number 4, I have Star Wars Rebels. I'll never forget turning this on for the first time, seeing the downgrade in animation from the Clone Wars and just the story of the first episode. I was like, this is literally made for babies. This is so low effort. I do not care whatsoever about anything happening. I'm so glad I stuck with it though, because this show quickly becomes just really solid and great all throughout. It's really just because our rebels are so likable. I love the dynamic between all of these characters. It reaches some emotional highs because of the time you're getting to spend with these characters that other shows simply just can't. Like Kanan's big sacrifice is one of the most emotional Star Wars moments, period, in my opinion. This really builds perfectly off of like the politics that we were dealing with in the original Star Wars trilogy in a way that all the other ones I kind of feel like deviate away from. This really dealt with the Empire in a really interesting way. Number 3 is The Mandalorian, which honestly could be easily in the number 1 or 2 slot, but sadly season 3 was a huge detractor from the series for me. It just kind of fell off the rails. The reason season 3 was so bad is because, yeah, season 1 and 2 are almost perfect Star Wars, and it has an absolutely perfect ending at the end of season 2 that if it ended off there, I think the show would have been incredible. Or if season 3 just fully focused on Bo-Katan and different Mandalorians instead of Din Djarin. I think that's what they wanted to do, but they were scared to not have him and Baby Yoda back in the show, but I think it really would have worked better. But it still doesn't take away from the amazingness of those first 2 seasons. This just kind of being like a bounty hunting monster of the week show, it works so incredibly well as just like a western set in the Star Wars world. I really hope the movie we're getting in 2026 is a satisfactory ending and kind of makes up for some of the missteps that season 3 took, because I do think there's okay moments in season 3. It just didn't feel great, but I hope they can just nail the Mandalorian and Grogu film. For the top 2, I'd really appreciate if you let me know your list in the comments below, and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. At number 2, I have Andor. This is really a masterclass in great writing. The dialogue between characters is just so compelling. There's amazing speeches and monologues that really just get you so built up into the story. The show is filled to the brim with absolutely incredible performances and great characters that you just care about. Like Andy Serkis in the prison is one of my favorite moments from any Star Wars TV show. The show is absolutely beautiful visually. It's a great look at this just rebellion building up, and I really love this. This is exactly what I want from Star Wars. Number 1, even trying to put nostalgia aside, I think The Clone Wars still stands alone as the greatest Star Wars TV show because, yeah, there are some downright just garbage and filler episodes in this that are bad, but the highs of this show are levels that no other Star Wars project can reach, even some of the movies. It's one of the greatest endings to a TV show I've ever seen. The characters in this are so much better than they are in the movies. Like, this is the greatest version of Anakin we see, like way better than prequel Anakin in my opinion. Same with Darth Maul. He barely even speaks at all in the first Phantom Menace movie. Becomes one of the greatest Star Wars character of all time because of his presence in this show. I'm gonna be honest, even some of the filler and quote-unquote bad episodes, I still enjoy just watching these characters just spend like regular days in different parts and planets of the galaxy. It just simply peak. Like I said, let me know your list in the comments below, and if you want to hear my predictions about The Mandalorian and Grogu's box office and so many more movies, click below to watch a video where I predict what movies will flop or succeed at the box office in 2026.